Good day and welcome, America and beyond. I'm Tom Donahue for Tom Donahue Reports and Tom Donahue Briefs, which is a briefing, meaning it'll be a more concise, more topic-specific podcast so that it'll be consumed in a much more effective and much more condensed way. So we'll see, where this may take us. In the last broadcast, which was actually yours truly being interviewed by Angeline Marie for Truth Seekers Radio, I took a little time to edit because I wanted it to sound clean. Okay. She did a good job of allowing me, or maybe giving me maybe too much latitude. And so I did 3 different parts to what was, an interview at that same timeline, that same day. I hope that you found those parts and certainly the whole interview to be illuminating, to be interesting, and always spot on, truthful, because I don't know any other way to communicate with you. So one of the things I want to touch on today with this briefing is there is so much polling data, and we're getting down to the home stretch here. There's a lot of different ways of looking at this, and I don't really care that much about the polls. But I am intrigued by some of the forecasters that have been around for, a few decades, maybe even more so. And they've been pinpoint accurate in calling elections. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. But I want to just touch on the MSNBC, NBC polling data expert, Harry Enten. And he says that, and you can read it for yourself because you can find it at Mediaite, you can find it at The Hill. But fascinating that he says, and he's not saying who's going to win, but he's saying that those swing states, the 7 swing states, is going to go either all or nothing for the candidate. He's saying that based on the way that they crunch the numbers and based on the way they've looked at prior elections, that it's either going to be Harris or Trump that wins all 7. And so the bigger picture is not only winning the swing states, not only winning the election, of course the popular vote, which we know where that's going, the actual electoral college vote. He says that the winner will be over 300, meaning it will be a blowout election. So I had not heard that before. And matter of fact, it is October the 24th going on to the 25th when I'm recording this. So you can find those articles I also have it listed at TalkStream Live for our listeners and our platform. I don't know about his accuracy. Is Nate Silver. And he says his gut feeling tells him that Trump's going to win. Well, I'm not about gut feeling. Well, actually, in my personal life, and I do go a lot by my instincts and intuition and gut feeling. So I can't fault him, but this is supposed to be more scientific, okay? And so I really don't care what his opinion is. I care about what the data is. Now, me being a host and not a data expert, not a numbers crunching guru, then I could go on my own gut feeling and instinct. But I have to tell you that I've been pretty accurate in many of these elections. I'm going to put it on the line right now, and it's not about what I want. It's about what I think and believe what will happen. And it goes beyond just a feeling. It's about just looking at all the information that's out there. I believe Harris will win. Harris will win by about 5 points. That may be that sweep of those states, but I'm not sure that either candidate's going to win all the swing states. But I just believe that Trump will not be reelected. And there's a multitude of reasons, and I'm going to get into that in other programs. But you've heard some of my analysis in the past. That, he's his own worst enemy, that the grievance politics, it's more the negative dark approach. It's the name calling. It's the narcissism. He just can't get out of his own way. Okay, here's probably the most significant, the most, to me, the most relevant of the indicators, and it's Allan Lichtman. And he's been around a while. Matter of fact, he has called 9 out of the last 10 presidential elections correctly. So that's 90% score, 90% accuracy. I don't know anybody in the media. I don't know anybody, mostly, in the professional prognostication game, if you will, as forecasters, that has been any more accurate. But he has 13 keys, and you can read them, you can look at them. He's been a guest on, a variety of news programs on the left and the right. But he has already said that Harris will decisively win. And you can look at those keys, and he said, and again, he's a professor at American University. He's not some crazy. He's been around the political game for a considerable time. But his prognostications, his predictions, he says, are all based on data, all based on science, all based on what he's come up as a formula. Seemingly, he's figured this out. But if you have called 9 out of 10 races. And then he's also taken it back historically to see elections that he was not around for, if the model holds up. And based on interviews I have seen, he has been remarkably accurate. So I'm not reliant on Allan Lichtman, but he's been around quite some time. If you haven't heard of him, if you haven't looked at his information, you can Google it. You can see a variety of articles about his 13 keys. Unless something dramatically changes in those keys, which many of them are kind of baked in based on incumbency, based on the economy, Wall Street, war, just a lot of things. Now, she's not winning on all the keys, but the majority of the keys, these 13 factors, she's way ahead of Trump. And he said it doesn't matter exactly what polls or if there's a mistake here or there or a gaffe. He just said that these are scientific measures that he's put together and that he doesn't change these keys. Anyway, I just thought that it's something that should be looked at, something that should be considered. So you have, on the one hand, swing states that are going to go 100% one way or the other, which I don't know. But, that's, his analysis seemed to make sense. And it kind of goes along with what my thinking is that in the end, except for the hardcore MAGA and some of the people that, and yes, there's some Latino men and some black men that are going to cross over. But I just think that, the abortion issue, the hatred factor, never Trump, and just his vulgar and egotistical and narcissistic ways, his authoritarian ways, I just think it's the personality, the morality, the character that is going to really sway people, that they just cannot take it anymore. Now, yes, Harris is kind of a mystery person. She is someone that's a political chameleon. She is someone that no one really knows what she believes or what she thinks. And she is a political creature and will be totally controllable. But I think people, they see her as more optimistic. They see her as more positive. They see her as more youthful. They see her almost as it's almost like Donald Trump's the incumbent. She's the new kid on the block, the new shiny object. And I'm going to say this, although I may cover it in another segment, another brief, is that she really whooped him in that debate. Well, you wait a minute, I got my MAGA hat on and David Muir was fact-checking him. Who cares? You worried about a little fact-checking? I mean, they're both liars, and pathological, that is. And you have to assume, when you go into a contest like that, in a liberal media outlet, most of the time, there's going to be a bias, okay? You're going to have to, you're going to have to battle the referees, the moderators. In terms of just, style points, in terms of her countering what he had to say, and just being in command and being on top of her game. Sorry, Trump, you lost that debate. But, he lost a lot of debates looking back on things. And I said those things. Trump always says he wins every debate. Trump wins every argument. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up for this brief. It had to do more with polling data, had to do more with election predictions, prognostications. Take it or leave it. I thought I'd share it with you. Tom Donahue Reports. This is my briefing for this given time, this moment in time, till we meet again.